Quick question. Did you leave America after 15 years to raise 5 kids back in Naija? Well, the Idowu family did it. They backed up the American dream, moved 70, had another baby right here in Nigeria, and now they're showing everything they didn't tell you on their YouTube page or on Instagram. Today, I'm asking the real questions. Did they make a mistake?
Was moving back to Nigeria with your husband and 5 kids a mistake?
Is Nigeria really home sweet home?
We didn't have electricity.
And what's the one thing they wish they knew before coming back to Nigeria?
That's what they complain about.
If you've ever thought, should I japa or should I japada? You need to hear this. The Idowus are about to get real. Let's get into it.
Was moving back to Nigeria with your husband and 5 kids a mistake or the best decision you've ever made?
Moving back to Nigeria from the United States has been a good decision for us and our family so far. Like you said, it's really it's crazy to see a young family like us just decided to move our family after 15 years from the United States to Nigeria. So it's been a good decision for us and our family.
When you told the kids that you guys were moving to Nigeria, what was their reaction?
When we informed the kids that we'll be going to Nigeria, even before we tell them or before we ask them, we always ask them that bring them to Nigeria back to back for occasion, for many things. So they always said, they're so excited whenever we said we are going to Nigeria, always excited. So when we now informed them that, okay, we'll be staying in Nigeria, we are relocating to Nigeria, they were so excited. They said, well, the only thing they asked that, okay, where we'll be staying, our house, things like that. Then we now show them the picture. They said, wow. And that's all for all of them. They were very dancing, already counting down. That when I will moving, even sometimes they will be the ones to remind us that, I think it's 2 weeks to go, right? Things like that. And yeah, that's one thing about it. So I believe when parents are moving to Nigeria, like us, it's not the first time they come in. So they've already know Nigeria, they are introduced to Nigeria already. They see what it's like, We've taken them to different locations, either island or mainland, good, fair, and different states, different city. So they've seen everything, even before we move down here, yeah. So the kids have no problem with it.
Their first week in Nigeria, what was it like? What was the thing they reacted to the most? Was it the heat? Was it the mosquitoes or the noise?
When we first came, our house was new. We didn't have electricity. We only had solar. Our solar was not able to power the air condition. It powers every other thing, but not the air condition. So the first few weeks before they connected our electricity, we got a new meter and all that. Was kind of tough because of the heat as well. They are used to having a air condition 24/7. So that was really challenging for them. But after they connected the electricity and all that, it's been amazing. There is no longer concern. Only when we go out sometimes, and I guess even the heat here in Nigeria is just like summer over there. Yeah, and we are from the south in US. We live in the south, so we live in the heat. It's very hot during the summer as well. So the summer over there in North Carolina is the same as
probably hotter.
Yeah, exactly. So they are kind of used to it as well. So they were able to adapt to the weather, I would say.
What is that thing you now do in Nigeria that you would have believed was unthinkable when you were in the US?
Thing that we do in Nigeria now that is every day, that is unthinkable. Nothing, I would say. Nothing. There's nothing that we are doing in Nigeria now that we don't do in US.
Everything is exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Your routine, your day-to-day.
Yes. Living standard, everything.
Okay, so when it comes to living in Nigeria, you've already lived in diaspora. You know the kind of environment you lived in and all that. So you are looking for that kind of a thing. Before relocating, we have already factored the environment, the kind of house that we want. Like our standard of house that we live over there is like the standard of house that we lived over here. So we put everything into plan before relocating. We know what we want. We know the kind of life we live over there, and we know the kind of life we want to live here. So we've factored everything. Doesn't matter the country that you are, life is what you make of it. So our way of life in the US, it's been the same. Moving to Nigeria, we have the same daily routine. So there is nothing unthinkable that we do here in Nigeria that we don't do in the US.
What shocked your husband the most moving to Nigeria? Even though it's also his own country, it's also his home. What was that thing that shook him the most?
The only thing he complains about most of the times is the road. There is no much improvement in the roads. Like, we would think after many years that we've left Nigeria that we'll have a better roads in all the streets. Although the government are trying, we are not saying they are not trying, but we would love that the roads are much more better at this time and age in Nigeria. So that's the only thing that shocks him, that the road is still, some of the roads like Songo or Tar Road is still the same. Like, it's shocking to see that it's still the same way. There is no improvement, there is no changes. In fact, it's worse. And I know some of the roads in Lagos that we left to are much better than when we came back, but most of the roads are still need improvements, and we are hoping that the government will do something about it very soon.
And that's like after how many years?
After 14 years.
14 years.
Yes, after 14 years. And yes, and the roads, most of the roads are still the same or even much more worse, especially Ogun State. Especially Ogun State is like I don't want to use dead zone. Like, if your car is not standing, don't even try it, don't even go there. If anyone invites you there, just tell them, send them money and be like, sorry, I'm not available. Exactly. And Ogun State is just few minutes to Lagos. Exactly. And which
people in Lagos can actually live
exactly. And even personally for me, when we moved here, I would have preferred that we live in like the suburb of Lagos, like Ogun State, because Lagos is crowded. I tell people Lagos is like New York. And one of the shocking thing for me personally, I know you asked for my husband, one of the shocking thing for me is that Lagos is now more crowded than when we left it, because I feel like a lot of people are moving from other states, like the north, like south, like the, is it east or what they call them, like the Igbos and all that. Yeah, so a lot of people moved to Lagos, I guess because Lagos is the trade, is where the trade, the center of Lagos, the business of Nigeria, center of Nigeria. So Lagos is more crowded, is more populated, and that's why we're hoping that more Nigeria, more other states will be developed, so that there will be people will move to other part of Nigeria. I mean, just like our Ogun State is close to Lagos, a lot of people would have loved to move over there, because there are still lands, there are still space. Like Lagos now is crowded, there is really no much space or land for people to buy or to live anymore. So we're hoping, that's the shocking thing for me, that it's now crowded, it's now overpopulated. You want Jackpot or something? I'm like, I've been hearing it though.
Which of your kids is struggling most with the move, and what do they miss most in the US?
None of them is struggling with anything. What do they miss most in US? I would just say, from our last question that we asked them, because we did a and we just asked them, want to know, from their own point of. We asked, and they said it's only few things they could say. They said the road, that's what they complain about. Because whenever they go out, all this, bombing, the car shaking, they don't really witness that, in the US. So it's only in Nigeria. So that's the only thing I will say. But struggling with any other thing, no, they like Nigeria.
I'll say they miss some of their friends. They were born in the United States, so they grew up in the United States. They have friends that they've known each other, especially in school and all that. But thankfully, they've been able to make connections here. They've been able to meet new friends here, and they're actually doing well here here.
What's the most stressful part of your day now that you are back in Nigeria from the United States?
I would say number one is traffic. And traffic is, I believe, one of the major things that causes the traffic I've noticed is the bad road. Bad road that causes most of the traffic. Then number two is all these touts. That's just it.
Okay, so the most stressful part for me, I don't really go out. But anytime I go out, sometimes I complain of the same thing, the traffic and all that. And one of the only thing I can say I complain of is the crowdiness. Like I said before, like Lagos is crowded for me, coming from a state that is we live in like the countryside of America. We live in Greensboro, North Carolina, so it's very like it's not populated. So like coming back to that crazy city lifestyle I can say that's kind of stressful, adjusting back to that crazy city lifestyle. So unless you are someone who lived in big city in abroad, then it will be easy for you to adjust to that fast pace. Like Lagos is very fast, is like I said, because of the population, it can be stressful sometimes.
You're a mom of 5, right? Everybody wants to know. I mean, taking care of 5 kids in Nigeria, people already think that Nigeria is not a place suitable for living. Talk more of living with 5 kids. What's your advice for anybody with the same or with kids and that want to move to Nigeria? Like, what's the daily life? What's it like?
For me personally, it has actually been easier raising children here than in the US because over here in Nigeria, service is cheap. I can easily hire people to do stuff for me. Like if I don't feel like cooking, if I want to hire a nanny or get an house help, I can easily get somebody to take care of the kids and all that. My advice for anyone that have children that wants to relocate is to have something doing. Whether you are an entrepreneur, you are a business person. I'm a forex trader, so thankfully I can work. I can relocate to any country. I can work anywhere. I can do whatever I want. My husband is a businessman too. He's into car businesses and he's a car dealer, so he buys cars from US. He still buys from US and he sells in Nigeria. So it was easy for him to relocate as well. So as long as you have something doing, you will definitely be fine because, like I said, service is cheaper in abroad. So I know I had a friend in US. She's a doctor. Her husband is the doctor, and yet they still complain of bills because it's a lot of money for them to hire nanny because they have children to take care of. So it's cost them a lot of money. At the end of the month, they are still complaining, even though they are making like 6 figures a year, which is not so in Nigeria. If you are making 6 figures here in Nigeria, you will definitely live like a king, like I always say, and a queen. So have something doing here in Nigeria and you will definitely be fine.
Why I'm trying to ask this the most is because a lot of people that have kids, right, they would like to understand what it is like to live with kids in Nigeria. So the period that you guys were sorting your lights, what were the kids, what was it like for them? Like what was there a moment where they felt frustrated or sweated so much and was there anything like that? And how did you deal with the situation? If there was a moment where they felt frustrated, like with the situation being in Nigeria and all of that.
For every problem there is always a solution, and I think how you raise your children too depends on really matters too. We've raised our kids to be able to adapt to any situation. Just like even talking about electricity, there are days where in US that we have hurricane and we're out of electricity. We couldn't cook, we couldn't do anything. We had to figure out another way to cook in order for us to even eat or something. So they've had that experience, unless anybody wants to lie. Even if you are coming from that, so you've had some moments where you are frustrated over there too, and even coming here to Nigeria too. So it's how should I put it? It's everywhere, unless you want to how should I put it? Unless you want to like gaslight that, oh, it's only Nigeria that things like this happen and all that. So they were able to adjust whatever the situation. Even when we didn't have we had the electricity issues and we only had to use fan and all that. Just like when we first came, one of the experience, like one of our daughter that she had issues with, the back of our house there was a land there, and this person had cow, is it cow, what is it called, chicken, a mini farm. So she had chicken and cow over there, and in the morning the cow would do, is it moo or something? Yeah, and the chicken, our daughter heard that she had issues with that. She ran to her room and she was like, "Mommy, what is that? What is that noise that she's hearing at the back of their room and all that?" So I was like, "That's a cow. That's a fowl," because they are not used to hearing things like that. Unless they go to the farm, they don't get to see chicken around in the house, running in the house, or to get to see cow or goats or anything like that. But after a while, she stopped coming to our room because she got used to it, to the sound and all that. So kids will always adapt.
There's this thing, right, where people abroad are always like, training your kids in Nigeria is better than training your kids abroad. And there's this thing about the saying, a village to raise your, yeah. So what's your take on that? Being that you've experienced both sides, raising kids abroad and then raising kids in Nigeria now?
Just like you said, we've lived in both worlds, so we know what it's like to raise children in both world, in both country. But I feel like Nigeria is more easy to raise children when it comes to culture, discipline, and like you just mentioned, it takes Nigerian belief here over here in Nigeria, and there is this belief that it takes a village to raise a child, compared to abroad where people are like minding their business. Even when you see someone's child going the wrong way, or it's not like Nigeria. I can see your child now maybe doing something, smoking there. I will go to your house and be like, look at your child, I saw your child. But things like that is not common in abroad. Like, people are trying to mind their business, like it's none of my business, it's not my problem and all that, whereas it's not like that in Nigeria. People look out for other people's children, and we have this culture, this respect any child that grows up in Nigeria. And that's why even where we go abroad, like, people are like, oh, you are very, we have this respect, like it's built in us compared to children raised in abroad. So there is this culture thing that helps children in respecting the elderly, and it helps them throughout their life too when they grow up too, as well. So I would say it's easy if you have it's much more better for us personally to raise our children here than in US. And there is still I would say morals here compared to abroad. I don't want to go deep into that. I'm sure people know what I mean. Yeah, with everything going on around over there in the Western world right now. So there is still morals here in Nigeria, so which is really helpful for us in raising our children here.
FOMO. Let's talk about FOMO, like fear of missing out. So this is I don't know, but this is my own belief, right? That kids abroad have more opportunity. Like, they will have more opportunity. They'll be able to like develop better and education wise and all of that stuff. So what do you think about that? Like, do you think that the Nigerian education system will be able to afford them better than being in this state?
The education in Nigeria, that's not a problem, as long as you do your diligence on the school they're going and the environment. Like, we've been visiting some schools, for the kids, and that really matters, and that really goes a long way. So if you have the right school, you have the right things in place, so they will meet up to the standard now. Like, even like, I have some friends that they've moved from Nigeria to US or to UK, and they are like, yeah, even some schools, they were like ready to, even some businesses, they were ready to hire them once they hear the school that they're from in Nigeria. So it's not that all Nigerian schools are abandoned or not up to standard. No, like Unilag is, yeah, once the year you are from Unilag, Lagos State University, you're ready to go. And some other schools, Ife, yeah, and some private schools too. So yeah, that really matters once you get the right school for them.
I wanted to say that I've gotten calls even from some of our subscribers on YouTube that they moved from Nigeria and they had their children here, and then they move to abroad, and their children is now underperforming compared to when they were in Nigeria. So a lot of people feel like Nigeria education system is even better than abroad. Some people are even complaining now that they are not even teaching their children anymore in the US, that they just give them online, put them online stuff. Exactly, like there's this no more teacher taking time to teach them and all that. So which is still not like that in Nigeria. And even talking about the standard here, there are even American schools like Abraham Lincoln School now in Nigeria. There's British school in Nigeria. So it's up to you. It's your pocket too. Is what you can afford, and even the ones that are not even as expensive. It's not about the price, or how should I put it? Sometimes some schools that are not even expensive, they have quality education, they have quality teachers that teaches well, and the children can stand wherever. There is this lady I watch on YouTube that even our children, the way they talk, they are their children, even like just like CCME that I mentioned the other side. If our children are talking, you think they are in abroad. You will not even know that they were born here in Nigeria because of the schools they go. So there are good schools in Nigeria as well. It just depend on you and all that.
Your last baby, You gave birth to him here in Nigeria. What was that experience like?
Asher. Asher. Yeah, Asher. Yeah. So we have 5 children. All our 4 kids, we had them in the US. And I was pregnant. I was actually 5 months pregnant when we moved to Nigeria. And there was this I was actually, to be honest, I was actually nervous because I've never had a child before. This is our first child, and people, I'm sure people were like, some people were like, "Are you crazy or something? Like, why would you even relocate?" Because we were already planning to relocate, and then I got pregnant, so I was a little nervous. I'm like, "Oh my God, how is it going to be like and all that?" And then I came to when we moved to Nigeria. Thankfully, the hospital that I even gave birth to is like a walking distance from our house. And the experience, surprisingly, the experience was great. Like I tell people, like, this was my labor was with our 5th child in Nigeria was actually the easiest. Like, all my 4 children, they've always had to induce me to force labor out, like to force the children out, and I've always had natural births with all of my children. But here in Nigeria, I guess because you walk more, you do more exercise here, I don't know, maybe that's contributes that to me being more active here in Nigeria than abroad in America, where I feel like we are more lazy. Everything is car. We don't really get to walk and all that. So it's really that's really helps. And the experience here, actually, like I said, I didn't have to go through any injection, any extra injection and all that. Everything was natural, and it took like few hours for the baby. Like, the doctor did not even make it to the labor room. It was that crazy. So my experience was amazing. So it was perfect. Yes, it was perfect.
This is a little bit personal. Did you ever break down or cry since moving back to Nigeria? Was there a period you like, oh, this is absurd? Was it that ever happened?
Answer to your question is no. I've never had a moment where I broke down crying, because, like I said, we've been coming to Nigeria, so I know what to expect. My expectation is not too high. Just like even the road we complain about, we know the road was that some of the roads are terrible, they are bad. So we know what we're expecting, what we are getting ourselves into. It's not like, just like one of our subscribers that we went to meet, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? 2 days. Yeah, she hasn't been to Nigeria for 17 years, since 2008. Wow. So she came to Nigeria like just 2 days ago. We went to meet up with her, and she was complaining of prices and all that. So I was like, ma'am, how much was dollar when you were in Nigeria? She was like, it was 100 and something. I'm like, so how much is dollar now? 1,500. So that means times 15 of the amount it was. So you shouldn't expect. She was complaining that things are expensive. So I'm like, you shouldn't expect things to be the same price that you left there. So because the dollar you brought to is like times 15 of the value of what it was before you left. So she was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So my expectation, like I said, was not high or something. So the only way I've seen people complain is when they are trying to compare Nigeria back to the Western world, and you can't. Nigeria is still growing. Nigeria is still thriving. So you can't expect, just like the electricity issue that people complain about. You can't expect. You already know this is something we already know about. But thankfully even now it's better. If you live in band A, some areas that are band A, so you can still have you can have electricity that can still be comparable to the US. And if you are not in band A, you just have to put things in place. Like before we come in, it took a lot of planning, a lot of research and everything in order for us to make sure we are comfortable, our children is comfortable. So we put everything into plan, so that way it's made our transition smooth in order for us not to it's not just Nigeria. Before you travel to anywhere, it's like starting all over again. It's like starting life all over again. So of course you have to adjust to so many things over and over again. So one thing I would say for me is that not raising my expectation too high really helps, and not comparing the country to each other. So every country has its pros and cons, like I always tell people. So that's actually helps for me.
Right. Mr. Idowu, how about you?
Yeah. She said everything. Everything is about planning, and don't raise your expectation too high. Yeah.
Nothing
Nothing
frustrated
more.
you at the point? Like,
Nah.
at the point, it's like, damn it, this country.
Uh,
Why am I here? Why did I do this?
no.
Because just like I said, when it comes to the planning, so we already know our house. We are not in the band area, so we don't have 24 hours light. So what did we do before coming at all? We make sure we put solar. So even when there is no electricity, till now, right now we have 24 hours electricity. We are always having it. So there is even the kids, the children, they still have they can watch whatever they want to watch. So because of that, let's say there is no electricity, I'm sure they will be like, let's go back to the US. I'm tired of Nigeria. I don't want to stay in Nigeria. But because we put some things in place for them, so they are actually comfortable. They are not complaining and all that. So it's like I just want to add that. Sorry.
So nothing have frustrated me in Nigeria since when we moved back. And
There is nothing.
no, not it's not new.
Okay.
This is it. It's not new. We've been coming to Nigeria, right? So we know what to expect, and and I know that Nigeria, I can't compare Nigeria to US. There are some benefits in Nigeria that I'm enjoying right now, and there are some benefits when I was in US that I was enjoying. So my expectations are not high. So there's nothing like I would say, oh, why did I? No. Even if you ask me today now that, oh, where would you like to go for your next vacation, I won't say US.
If someone abroad is thinking of moving back to Nigeria with their family, what's one harsh truth you would like them to hear first?
Before coming to Nigeria, make sure you have some plan in place, like income. Because you can, even if you tell me that you are coming to Nigeria with $1 million or $2 billion, if you don't have any cash flow, any income to back that up, then you're going to spend it all. You're going to finish it, and you're going to get frustrated. Because you coming to Nigeria, you have to have some plan. Okay, the money that I'm bringing, or how am I going to be making money? And if you can still maintain making your dollar while you are in Nigeria, then you're good. You are good to go. You are good. Then if you can't make extra dollar while you are in Nigeria, then the money you're bringing, make sure you do your research very well. Do your calculation on business you want to go into. Make sure the business you're going into, you also know about the business, because that's the mistake most people make. Now they saw that, Mr. Ayo he has a business of making wristwatch now. He's making money, and he said yes. Mr. Ayo said, I'm making money. But you have to also know the business to make that money. You have to be in the business, not that you just drop your money and you walk away and you believe that you'll be getting money. No, in Nigeria you will get flogged. That's just it. So you just have to do your research, and you have to be involved. You have to know the business, because there are many opportunities in Nigeria that you can take advantage of. Many business, and I believe once that is in place, then you'll be good in Nigeria.
I don't know if you guys have seen this video. I'm going to pop it up right here. So there's this YouTuber, Dinah something, and she says in this video, she says that Africa and Nigeria is going to be the next hub. It's going to be the next place, the future, actually the future, and the US and the West are going down. What do you think about that? First, my take is that, put this in mind, if Africa is the future and US that is actually doing well, I would say right now, is going to be going down, what do you think Africa that is, or Nigeria that is nowhere to be found, what will happen to it? So let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think Africa will be the future and the US, the West, is going to go down?
For my own point of view, what she said, okay, that Africa is the next place for you to live and for you to stay, I would say yes. But I'm not going to say, oh, when Africa are doing good, then other countries like Western world are going to go down. I'm not going to agree on that, because everybody.
She actually said, sorry.
Yeah.
Said people should move back.
Yeah.
If not, you regret it.
Okay. Yeah. That's, I would say yes. That will definitely happen to some people. Some shock, because some people believe that where they are is the best of all. That there's no way is going to come down, or they're going to regret where they're staying now. So, but I would say in Africa, because if Africa puts some things in place, Africa has all what they need. Most of things that we are enjoying in the Western world, they are from Africa. If we, that's just it. They are from Africa because Africa is huge. I'm not going to say from Nigeria. No, from Africa. Everything that they use, everything, you know, just like yesterday now, the news that going down that okay, the war that is going on, that okay, I will not mention the country, but they are bombing their oil plants, and the oil plants, America get their oil from there. So if they are burning that, then where will America, they have to source for any other country to get their oil.
Bear in mind that America has the reserve of the world, so
No, wait.
Imagine
No, let me tell you something.
Okay.
Just like what we said. We said if you have the money in the bank and you don't invest in it to give you return, then what happens to the reserve you have?
America has reserves.
Yeah.
And it's as big
So
as
it
your
won't
whole watch.
finish.
And
It
then
won't
they
finish.
also have untapped. So it's not because they don't have. that
I'm just gonna say,
ahead.
yeah,
So-
I'm just gonna say this,
Yeah.
that anything can happen if you are not really the source that you are producing what you have. Like now, the mic that we are using now, I'm not sure it's not made in Nigeria. So let's say now, let something that happen now, to where they are getting it from, and we are saying okay, we are the one that buy most of this mic. So if we can't get it from where we're getting it from, what happened? That means we are done. So that's what I'm going to say on that.
For me, I know the YouTuber you're talking about. I think I saw the video too. So I mean, I relate with what she was trying to say, because I'm in the financial markets, and if you're in the financial markets, like me, you know there is a dollar devaluation going on right now. The dollar has been crashing really bad. And if the dollar keeps going down, inflation will continue to go up in America, which is already going up right now. The rent prices, a lot of people are becoming homeless. A lot of people are moving back to their parents' house right now in America. A lot of people are already getting laid off and all that due to the current economy. So I think that is what she's trying to say. And when dollar keeps crashing, it will keep crashing. I think what she meant is that Africa is the next, when the Western world go down, the African economy will go up, because if dollar is crashing, it will crash against other currencies like Nigeria, which is what is currently affecting Nigeria inflation too, because a lot of countries economy is tied to the dollar, like oil, and like the oil Nigeria export and all that is priced in dollars and all that, so which is what is affecting our economy over here too. So if dollar is crashing, it will be good for the economy of other countries that are tied to the dollar, and then the people in America, things will be up, and inflation will get worse, like I was saying. So I think that's what she's trying to say, for people, in order for people to get out of there. I won't advise anyone to leave unless, like I said, have a plan, have a stage set for them for that. You can't just get up one day and say, okay, you want to leave or you want to relocate to. It's not easy anywhere, so you just have to make sure you put things in place and all that too, even before relocating to anywhere. So that's my own take on that.
Alright guys, so we've come to the end of this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more. This is the Idowu family. Please check out their channel. I'm going to link it in the comment section of this video. They have been sharing their experience living in Nigeria and living in the United States. And Mrs. Idowu here is a forest trader and expert. So if you are interested in forest trading, please also contact her. She can put you through, and you know that money is golden. So check out their channel, and of course thank them in the comment section for sharing their experience with us. We'll see you guys on the next one, right? All right, thank you guys so much. It was an experience. Thank you. Okay.